falafel?
Dude, that sounds good.
Hello?
Have you had falafel?
I have, yeah. I had one. I went to Warped Tour, and it's like the only thing they had there that was somewhat exotic, and I actually wanted to eat. But then I was like, hey, can I just get this? And then, of course, they douse it in like mayo or some shitty-ass sauce, and it was terrible. I was distressed.
No, it couldn't have been mayo.
Dude, it was bad. What's the sauce you put on falafel? Because it was like a...
Like the
Tzatziki.
yeah. Thank you. Right on cue.
Or tahini. Tahini
What's
can be
the
good,
difference?
too.
I don't know what the difference is. It was not tahini, because I know what
You
tahini
uncultured
is.
swine.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it is. Hey, are you a
I don't
vegan,
know.
bro?
Who, me?
We-
Yeah, I didn't think so.
All right, fuck off. I don't give a shit. Fuck you, man. I had like a delicious ham and egg sandwich this morning. Got like some of the best chicken in Chicago a couple of nights ago. I got like, I don't know. I'm gonna eat a burger later.
That sounds
Listen,
amazing.
I get it. I'm a little jealous of you guys. And here's the thing that I've been pushing for a little bit now, and I mentioned it the other day, and I think we should do it. All the many Knicks Wall vegans should do a little cookout for all of us non-vegans, because there is plenty of vegan food that I really like. And you know, those I don't know if you guys have had those whatever that new burger is thing.
Oh, I fucking have the Beyond Burger.
Yeah, I want to try that. So if you guys, I want you guys to cook for us one of these times.
My
Beyond
roommate
Burger's
has
a
talked
fire.
that up like all the time. That Beyond Burger. I haven't had it yet though.
Yeah, you gotta find it. I think you could even order it, but usually Whole Foods is supposed to have it. It's good.
What's in it?
I mean, it's a lot of things. It's all plants, but it says the main things that I took away was pea protein, is like the body of it. I don't know why they say pea protein. That throws me off. It's peas. It's peas. And then I don't know, they use different amounts of different vegetables, and they kind of make it juicy. So they put like little bits of beet juice in there, but it doesn't taste anything like beets. And I don't know, bro, it was fire. The first time I had it, I went to Whole Foods and ordered it like from the burger bar. So that was the first experience, and it was real good. But
Something about pea protein. That just doesn't... You shouldn't call it pea protein, because it sounds like you're like pulling out the protein in your piss. Like, no one wants that.
You guys want to see something wild?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh my
Dude.
god.
I know it's all gone.
Why'd you shave
shouldn't have-
it?
You should have
So my
eased this in. You shouldn't have just.
well,
Yeah, that
so
was a real
here's what
smack to the
happened.
face.
I know. It was a real smack to the face too when my buzzer died like midway through me shaving 15 minutes ago.
I just told a story when that happened to me, and it was the most harrowing experience of my life.
Yeah, and I realized that I left my charger at my parents' house in New York.
This was my exact story.
This is-
the
yeah, this is the
exact
exact
story.
story.
Really?
Yes.
So like I just had like because I was kind of lazy this week, so I had like a really short like sides and just like this thick goatee going on. So I just had to come all the way home.
Wow.
It's all right. I'll get used to it.
Do you like
You'll get
it?
used
Are
to
you
it.
glad you cut it off?
I mean, like, it satisfies this urge that I've had for a couple of months now. I don't know if it was the right decision, but I mean, I was keeping it pretty short anyway. It'll be back in a week.
That's not too bad then. We need it back, because your look was just the stuff of legends. The Snapchat was just popping off. Every time it was a
I
Corbo
feel you.
Snapchat, I got excited.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I was just, I don't know. I was feeling a little too Jesus-y some days. I'm gonna get a little trim tomorrow, I think, and then we'll see what happens. You
When
know,
was the last
if
time
it-
you got a haircut? Because your hair's pretty long too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I got a really bad trim back in like February, but I've been growing it since about October.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Don't let it go.
Hey, you keep doing you.
All right, you want to talk Knicks?
Yeah.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS over. Setting up the flag now.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the TKW podcast. I'm Matt Spendley, and I'm joined today by Kyle Maggio and his dogs.
What's going on?
Nothing much, man. And I'm also joined by Anthony Corbo.
It's me, Corbo.
Back-to-back episodes, brother.
I know.
That's what
I'm glad
talking
to be
about.
here.
Just like old times. So, not much going on. We know it's the summer with the Knicks. Kyle and I were talking a little bit before we were recording about the shit-ass performance of one Sonny Gray. Kyle, would you care to elaborate on that at all?
He's just remarkably awful. Just truly, objectively, remarkably, astoundingly awful. He's just a bum. He really is. I can't do this anymore. You just know every fifth day. Just, he sucks.
But so does Lance Lynn, who actually pitched well today. So,
Well, in fairness, his first, I think it was like 2/3 of his games pitched this year, he was impressively hot garbage. In his last like 10 or 15 games, he's been on fire, supposedly.
yeah, well, he's been definitely better. Sonny Gray just can't pitch in New York. I was saying this before we hopped on, but the man, when he gets to Yankee Stadium, there's something about him. He simply cannot do it. So when they get to the playoffs, if he starts a playoff game, there's something seriously wrong. But I don't think he'll have to, which is good because holy shit. All right, enough Yankees. I have a couple Knicks takes that I want to fire off, and we're gonna get through our 10 through 19 uniform numbers to end the pod. A little less contentious this week than last because some of them are retired, have obvious
They're all
options.
fucking retired.
Yeah, not all of them. There's a couple that we
I
can
know.
hop down memory lane, but
There's a couple that are bound to be too.
yes. I have a take that people seem to disagree with me on, and when I was bringing up all the uniform stuff, it reminded me. I do not like the Knicks uniforms of like the late 90s, early 2000s up until like 2010, 2011 that had the black piping. I don't think they're good. I think they're so much better now with just the white, the blue, and the orange. Please discuss.
But I think the trapezoid black ones, I
Both
had
of
a
them.
weird.
Anything with the black, I just
Well,
don't
here,
think it looks good
hold
with
on,
the color
hold on,
combo.
Hold on, just hold on.
All right, go ahead.
The trapezoid black ones that they wore like towards the end of the 90s and everything, and in the 99 finals and stuff. Those I had a weird affinity for a while, but they're pretty much bottom, towards the bottom of as far as Knicks uniform power rankings go. I kind of dug some of the ones that they broke out around 2002, 2003 when they kind of narrowed the pipes a little bit, but some of the black there's too much black right on blue. It looked weird on the collar and stuff. And then you're absolutely right where they got it right in 2010 when they kind of mostly took that black out of there. And I like the uniforms we have now, but I still think the ones that we had from 2010 until 2012, I want to say.
The first year with the white was the good year when they won 54 games.
Oh man, I remember when they announced that shit too. When I was at college, I got so hyped.
Yeah.
I literally told the teacher a teacher asked me what my favorite color was. And I told them I'm a fucking freshman too, I'm a piece of shit. And they're like, "What's your favorite color?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll know tomorrow after I know what color blue the Knicks are going with."
That is impressive, Corbo. Because my color is not blue; it's green. I don't care what the Knicks are wearing.
My favorite color is actually orange, but I was 17 at the time.
Kyle, do you have a take on these black jerseys? I feel like you like them more than I do.
I did, but my thing was when they switched over to the ones that they have now, where it's nice and clean and just the blue, orange, and white, I was really on board. I was looking forward to it. I think, for me anyway, it was just more bad memory stuff associated with it. I was like, now we got Amari, now we got Melo, now...
Hey, one thing, though.
What?
I really don't like the silver on the new jerseys.
Disagree.
It just feels... What?
I disagree. I think it looks sharp.
Oh, I think it's so unnecessary. I'd much rather just go with the orange, white, and blue. I don't know why. I agree with you. I don't need the black there, but I don't know why they need anything. It's a strong color scheme just having those three.
Yeah, it kind of takes away from it when you put the gray in.
I agree.
But it helps the main logo. You got to keep this in mind because if the main logo was just,
okay,
I think if it had just the white around it, I think with the silver it looks much better in the main logo. So I think that might have played a factor when they were making the switch.
The main logo, maybe. I don't know. I could see the silver being in the main logo, but I don't need it to be piping in the jersey. That's just where I stand. That's just where I'm standing on it. Are we talking about this in the wake of the Lakers jerseys, by the way?
Kind of, and I also saw a picture today that was talking about some old Knicks uniforms, and I was looking back. But do you guys not like those Lakers unis?
I love
I
the
do-
yellow and white. I hated the purple one.
Yeah, I there's something even with those ones. I can't put my finger on it quite yet. Like we have to look at it a little bit more closely and probably see it on them when they play. Still doesn't quite feel Showtime to me. Like, they kind of I feel like there's something that's still missing from the design. I can't really put my finger on it, but
I don't think it's what's missing. I think it's what they added.
no, but I agree. I'm not even talking about the purple ones. I'm talking
No,
about
neither am I. I'm talking about
Okay.
those. If you look at the shoulder piping,
Uh-huh.
I think maybe it's probably the main collar too. Normally, the old Showtime piping was just purple, I think, on the inside and then white on the outside, or vice versa. But there was no yellow, so they added a yellow on the end, and then it was white,
yeah, I see what you mean.
and then I think that throws it off because the whole reason everybody liked the Showtime ones was because like the purple and white was the stark contrast on the jersey.
I kind of feel about
You
these
know,
the
like-
same as I feel about the Knicks jerseys right now. Like, it's nice because you could tell, like, you know, the obvious, like, the Knicks jerseys that they wear currently are definitely supposed to be based off of those, you know, 90s and, like, 70s iconic jerseys and all that. But there's just, like, slight changes and then they take it away. And I would have rather just seen them go for a different design. Like, these are cool. I would have liked to see these as an alternate and see them just go kind of a different way with it. It just like it seems like a mediocre take on the original design.
Do you guys remember the one year, I think it was 2011, when the Knicks wore almost those exact like throwback jerseys from the championship team? So it was basically
they
the
did
coloring
that-
now, and they have the old font. Do you like those better than the current ones?
Absolutely.
Which ones?
150%. The ones like Melo wore them in his first game, right? Against
Yes,
the
like
Bucks.
when they played the Bucks.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, those ones were beautiful. They looked great on everyone except for Amari Stoudemire.
Because that's what you're describing, Corbo, is that without the silver. Because I think it's just blue,
Right.
orange, white, and that's it.
Right, it's like exact replicas. And I'm not saying they should go back to that as like the everyday uniforms. I just think that I don't know. It's probably a take that not too many people agree with, but I just feel like when you produce a watered down version of that and enact a modernization or whatever, it's so hard to make it go well. I feel like both the ones that the Knicks currently wear and these new Lakers jerseys just miss the mark slightly.
Are we a pro blue paint podcast?
130%. That
Okay,
orange
good.
paint looked fucking gross.
You know what? It's as simple as the blue paint just looks tougher. You know what I mean? Because the orange,
Yeah.
it lined up too much with the floor. The blue
Exactly.
paint was a no-brainer for them to go back to. So glad they did that.
I
Yeah,
almost
I was-
couldn't believe that they did it.
I
'Cause
know.
I remember it was such an eyesore, and I was like, they're just always good. Because everything with the Knicks that time was just miserable. So I was like, I know they're just gonna stick with it. They're not even gonna change the fucking floor,
Yeah, because like no one gave a shit except for like you, me, and Alan Hahn.
pretty much.
And that was Alan Hahn's like project that he was
Yeah,
working on.
Died by that.
It was his passion project. He was like, I am going to make them switch this if it's the last thing I do at MSG. So let's talk just a bit about some news, and then I got a couple other segments that we'll hit before we wind down. But so Fizdale just got done with KP in Latvia, was there with him for a few days. I know there was a report too that some of the Knicks assistant coaches had been checking in on Mitchell Robinson at home. So the Knicks clearly putting in the work. I know we've seen all these guys working out. I know Kevin Knox has been working out a lot. Frank Ntilikina is going to be playing in what's the exact term? Is it the FIBA tournament in September, which is pretty cool. So I think it's just good to see the coaching staff doing the things that they were following up on, and we've had some great content from our writers. We had a great piece by James Woodruff the other day about how the Knicks are really pushing forward the agenda of minorities by having a president and a general manager and a head coach that are all black, which is awesome.
And honestly, look how well it's working.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is, I don't know. It frustrates me that it's taken so long for it to actually happen. And then you see, you put people into a position of power and good things start to happen. So
It's been all good. The only reason this is just the most dead time of the year because the only thing that we get is the Fizdale to Latvia story was awesome, obviously, because that's something that is just on the back burner for now.
I saw a
but
Tim
that's-
Hardaway Jr. crossover today that looked cool. That's news at this point.
Was it on Dwayne Wade's son?
No, I don't even know where it was. No, I just saw the one. It was from like earlier this season. It was like a highlight clip. There's nothing else going on that counts as news.
So it's a highlight clip from the NBA season. It wasn't even current.
Yeah, no, it's from the NBA season. It was it's like this is the like top 50th like crossover of the year or something.
That's what we got. The last second half of the year.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is like 43rd on crossovers in the NBA this season. Fucking put it on the front page of the Post.
Well, let's go down memory lane just a little bit, and then we'll get into our jersey numbers because there was a tweet today from NBA TV. They were showing a bunch of Knicks content. They were talking about some of the best moments in franchise history, so we were getting some great answers. I think the first moments that come to mind for someone like me who, I mentioned those of you guys that listen know, I was born in 95. I'm 23 years old, so the moments that define the Knicks are of a certain ilk and are a certain genre of moment. I think the first big moment I can remember from when I was young was when Jamal Crawford scored 50 points. That was awesome. And I can remember something that meant more to me was when the Knicks made the playoffs and they lost to the Celtics. I think that was like a high point because it was like, wow. And then when the Knicks got mellow. But a lot of people said...
That was a definite high point for me. That was that's still... Because that was... I maybe wasn't quite a paying attention Knicks fan around the same time you were, but like just a couple of years after that. So like the first real taste of success I was even seeing was that playoff game, that playoff matchup.
A lot of people mentioned Linsanity, which I am 100% on board with, but I think my main point when I was reading some of these responses, and I know some people pointed it out, is that how sad is it that our generation's high points are like Carmelo Anthony hitting an awesome clutch three on an Easter game that really didn't matter at all, or a moment during the year when the Knicks ended up going to the playoffs and losing in the first round. There are all these moments that really just like hold no... Like if you ask me my favorite Yankees moments or Giants moments or Rangers moments, they're playoff moments. Those are the ones that stick out, and with the Knicks, simply not the case for obvious reasons. Kyle, are you there?
Sorry, bad podcasting. I was changing into my Jamal Crawford jersey after you said that.
I was actually saying something. I was on mute.
Oh, so, I was going to say, because you were quiet for so long.
I was staying quiet I thought I was talking. Everyone stayed silent. It threw me off.
I was preoccupied.
No, I don't know. That's
what's
true.
The moment Kyle, what's the moment when you think, like, just right off the cuff, don't even, like, think about it for a second, the moment for the Knicks that just is your favorite? You're thinking about it. This is exactly what I told you not to do.
So
and you're supposed to be the old head around here.
Yeah.
The first thing that came out to mind to me was the game I was actually at, which I love talking about and saying that I was at.
Wait, you were at the Melo game on Easter?
Oh yeah, I was at the Melo game on Easter.
Oh wow,
I was right above the player tunnel. It was nice.
My God.
Yeah, and that game because I was on the Knicks basket for the fourth quarter and overtime, so. He was shooting on my basket, and I was really close. I was right above the tunnel, so I had a great angle on it. And, that place lost its mind. I mean, that was like the beginning of the Melo marriage still. That was only his first real year in, I believe, or second year. The first...
Yeah, that was 2011, 2012.
Yeah, so the first real
first
season.
Full year.
Yeah.
So, we were still... pulling for him. We had our star and everything, and then your star goes off for, I think it was 45 that game, and just took over down the stretch. So for me, just being there, because I'm biased, I don't think that might have been the best moment.
All right,
but for me, yeah.
So after the last couple of years, every time Kyle has told that story on the podcast, I have immediately followed it up with the story of how I was at the Tony Douglas 9 3-pointer game, which
basically the same thing, same level of excitement.
Hey, it was fucking electric in there. It was St. Patrick's Day, but that was like that's one of my defining Knicks moments too. But let's just transform this question that you're asking now to, because that's Kyle's obvious answer. This is my obvious answer. But Matt, what's the best game that you've been to at the Garden?
Okay, so it's not even a question for me because you know what? Let me take you very quickly through the lowlights first. I've been to 3 or 4 Knicks games over the last 2 years, and I think they've lost by an average of 30 points because I was at, what I've told before on this podcast, I was at the game where Derrick Rose disappeared, and they got smacked. Anthony Davis scored like 50 points.
Yeah.
I was at a game.
Okay, I forgot about that.
I saw them play the Rockets last year at the beginning of the year, and it got so bad that Joe Chi played in the game at the end, and there was a large contingency of Asian fans in my section, which was awesome because they all went ballistic when he came in the game and then he scored. So it was
stand for Zochi being a capable center in the league at some point.
Dude, he's big. Like, well, I mean, what more could you ask for? I saw them play the Magic in I think it was 2011 with my friend that was a Magic fan at the time, like maybe even 2010 on MLK Day, right when the Dwight Howard stuff was like peaking, and JJ Redick and Ryan Anderson just mutilated the Knicks. I haven't seen them win a game in a long time. I saw them play the Sixers a few years ago, but what?
Oh no, I was gonna say one of my favorite NBA games I've ever been to was Magic Pistons down at the Amway Center, and I only really appreciate that game because it was Ben Wallace's last season, and getting to watch that guy play and just destroy like both. But like, I swear to God, those hoops hung a lot lower by the time he was done with them, and it was his last year. Like the guy, oh, it was incredible.
Ben Wallace was. I think he's going to go a little underrated in the lexicon once he's.
I'm
a
so
forgotten name
fucking stoked that he's on tour in China with Rashid right now.
Yes,
and they're like not even going to like basketball camps or anything. They're just going to clubs.
What more would you ask for? We've seen Sheed. We know what he's about. The man, he knows what he's about. So this is all to say. No, you're fine. The best game I've been to by far was in 2013. I went to Knicks Celtics game 2, and JR was given the Sixth Man of the Year award that night, and I still don't know if I've heard the Garden louder. And I've been to, maybe like 8 to 10 games in my life at the Garden, and then some Rangers games too. But it was even during the game, the only time it was louder was he hit like a half-court 3 to end the first quarter, and that's where he did the famous, the 3 celebration he did where he would windmill and then go right near his face with the threes, like the Jazz hands for 3. That was the best game I've been to.
We call that the JR Henny around here.
Yes. Let
me ask you a question that just popped into my head.
Go for it.
How do you think that if you think that J.R. Smith looks back on his time in New York, how do you think he interprets it? What do you think his parting thoughts from the New York Knicks are after a few years?
It has to be fondly. Like, I think he loved playing in New York, and I think that he enjoyed Woodson. And the way that it ended obviously wasn't ideal, but I don't see how he could look back on it and have any bad memories, because I think even at the worst points, I don't think Knicks fans ever disliked JR. Like, it didn't get to the point where people were calling for him to simply not be on the team anymore, besides at the very, very end, and that was just the nature of the team was just different at that point. So, I don't know. I might be misremembering that, and I wasn't on Twitter as much, and we weren't as tapped in with some of the fans at that point, but I certainly never felt that. I was always a big fan of JR.
No, I think he was probably the second most. I mean, he wasn't the second most important Nick, but I think he got the second most recognition for a lot of people because he was. I mean, he scored well for us. Those were his best seasons of his career, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, by far. He scored 18 and a half, and when he won Sixth Man of the Year, he was fantastic.
Yeah, and he was fairly efficient too because he was just
42%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, he was really good. He was really good that year. I think he's got the 2012-13 year, but most of the seasons. It's got to be fondly. I can't imagine why it wouldn't be fondly. He was he was local. I think he's a New Jersey guy. He was near his family. He played the best ball of his career. I don't know. Had to be that.
Hey, on that note, did either of you listen to JJ Redick's podcast with Donovan Mitchell?
Did not.
I always intend to listen to that podcast, and I never get to it.
Yeah, well, I'm working from home these days, so I have a lot of free time. So I was listening to that pod today, and one thing that really stuck out to me is how fucking proud Donovan Mitchell is to be a New Yorker. So
you know what that means.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Soon.
Back of the head. All right, moving on.
Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Karl Anthony Towns. Your starting lineup for your 2020 Knicks, ladies and gents.
Absolutely.
Don't ask questions how it happens.
Lineup for my GM profile on 2K.
I saw there was some pushback to the idea that 2019 free agency is going to be big for the Knicks in coming days, or I should say in the recent days, just because Berman pointed out that KD's going to want to play in the new arena for the Warriors, but I was never really looking at this summer for 2019 as the big one. I was kind of thinking the next one. That's how I always was looking at this, and that's why I think a lot of our listeners and our Twitter people that interact with us on Twitter agree that it should be a priority to go there. So getting rid of a guy like Joakim Noah just let his contract ride out. I don't know. I might be in the minority there, but that's how I've always seen this playing out.
Realistically, yeah. I mean, everybody just kind of gets caught up in the pipe dream.
Which is
Every
understandable.
time.
It's exciting to think about. And the Knicks
It's
have been so
exciting.
bad for so long.
It's exciting to think about, but and it happens all the time. Everybody goes crazy over the names. Rumors start to fly that kind of get spun in a weird way, where Kyrie's reported denial of the Celtics contract extension kind of got thrown as, oh, he has interest in New York. He's going to come to New York. But really, it's because he can make $80 million more if he just didn't sign the first extension and sign the second extension. So, I don't know. There's no reason to buy into that crap.
I think you'd say there's like a 1% chance of Kyrie leaving the Celtics. I know you say it makes no sense that he would ever leave.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't. So,
And we also need to-
What about money stuff? Salary cap.
The
Jason
Celtics
Tatum,
can...
all those guys.
Yeah, well, they'll have to prioritize, and that's another question. But if you're keeping... If it's between Kyrie and Hayward, if it came down to that, like, I'd keep Kyrie. And they'll have to pay a guy like Tatum, but, you know...
I mean, they definitely want to get Anthony Davis on the team, too.
Which is another thing that could be thrown into. That's how it happens. If the Celtics get a bigger star or feel like they need to just get rid of someone to keep the money realistic. Because, you see, they're not going to get rid of their swingmen. Like, Brown and Tatum aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're going to have to do something.
I don't have a ton of faith that I really don't have a ton of faith that Terry Rozier is, starting point guard material in the NBA long term.
He's not.
But I feel like you gotta, like, if it comes down to a trade for Anthony Davis, like, Kyrie's got to be in the package, right?
One would think, or Hayward. Like, I think the money would match up, but I still find it hard to believe the Pelicans would trade him. Why they'd have to be so bad?
Well, that's
and I
the
kind of
thing.
like their lineup. Like, I think
Kyrie.
I think that the Pelicans will have no reason because I think the Pelicans will be good this year, and I don't see why we should think they'll be bad.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah, but need to keep in mind, if you're a betting man, like, you should still bet against the Knicks not getting anyone because that's the most realistic scenario.
I say the same thing for these situations. I'll believe it when I see it and not a second before.
Yes.
It's just one of those things that you don't ever envision happening. For example, my biggest one in recent memory was when I was convinced Dwayne Wade would never leave the Bulls. I mean, the Heat. And then he left for the Bulls. And then at first it was almost officially reported, and I was like, I don't believe it. I have to see him in a different jersey to believe it. And then once I saw Wade in the Bulls jersey, I was like, Jesus, it's for real.
Yeah.
Same thing
You
with
think Wade
this.
signs anywhere else this year?
I hope he retires in Miami, to be honest with you.
I think he might do that kind of like, sign the one day with Miami, retire from the NBA, and go play in China for a while.
He could.
Yeah.
They were offering him a contract. He's still
I know.
iffy.
He
So
can
we'll have
make
to see.
mad fucking money over there, though.
Yeah, I think what they say, like 3 years, 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, for a guy his age, that's not bad at all.
No. He's not making it in the NBA.
No, hell no. No. All right, let's get into 10 through 19 for the jerseys. So, as I mentioned before, this one not quite as much to debate. We don't have some of the built-in arguments that we had for the other ones. And those of you that filled out, again, thank you to everyone. You'll notice that some of them only had 3 options because, for example, the first number is number 10, which obviously is Walt Frazier. And the other 2 options were Max Zaslavsky, who was one of the first Knicks to actually make a name for himself at the time, and then Jim Beichtold. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, but 100% of people voted for Clyde. Not one troll out there, so congratulations, guys.
We beat the trolls.
So number 10 is Clyde. And then for those of you, if you're listening this week and didn't listen to last week, go ahead back, listen to last week after you finish this up. We did 0 through 9. And then we're doing 10 through 19 this week. And then after this week, we'll have to make sure there's still enough options in the 20s. So we're just going to go from there.
Yeah. Last week was far more contentious than I think this week is going to be. But we'll see. I don't even know half these fucking names, man.
I had to reach for some, to be frank.
There was one I was really mad. Oh, it's all right. Let's continue.
All right. So, yeah, number 11 is...
Yeah, this one I was really fucking mad at you for.
No, I was not going to put Frank Ntilikina in there. Come on, guys. Come on. You know why I did it? Because I knew
for him, but I wanted to see him there.
I knew if I put him in, people were going to vote for him, and it just wouldn't be a realistic result.
It was just really... You put his fucking jersey in the picture, and you wouldn't put him in the actual poll? I don't know, man. Something fishy about that.
That could just as easily be some other number 11s. It doesn't have to be his.
Read me the stats, Matty.
So Jamal Crawford was the winner with 42% of the vote.
That's fucking right he was.
And then Bob McAdoo got 29 and Derek Harper got 21. So again, I would probably go with one of the older guys because it makes more sense. Like Bob McAdoo was excellent for the Knicks. He scored like 27 points a game for them at the turn of this the decade when they were kind of in the middle of nowhere after the championship teams. And then Harry Gallatin was one of the great Knicks from before the championship teams too. A great rebounder, great scorer. Great. Derek Harper, obviously point guard on some of the championship teams. Jamal Crawford was a good Knick,
heavy number when you think about it.
What's that?
There's just a lot of talent when it comes to number 11. For
this one was good because I think I don't know a lot about Johnny Green because he's an older guy, but
the bottom four are pretty.
There's a good option here. So did you guys choose Jamal Crawford?
Yeah, I chose. Go ahead.
No, I mainly did because obviously I watched Jamal Crawford, growing up, and I have a signed Jamal Crawford jersey, so this number wins for me entirely on bias.
I picked Jamal Crawford for the exact same reasons that Mac picked Bob McAdoo, because he basically did come right after a pretty successful era for the Knicks, and he scored a bunch of points for them. And he did it for just a little bit longer than Bob McAdoo did.
Yeah, McAdoo was really only barely 2 years. Like, it was not a long stint with the Knicks. So that's why I don't think there's really a wrong answer.
No, there's not. There's not. This one's eventually going to be Frank Ntilikina, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. Hope. Although, I don't know. I don't really know anything about Bob McAdoo, the person. But I know that Jamal Crawford has spoken at times about him having fond memories of being in New York.
Yes.
And, considering the state of the team when Jamal Crawford played for us, for him to still have that opinion, I don't know, that holds some water for me.
That is true. And we got to commend that guy for still playing the exact same way and looking the same he did when he was in New York 15 years later.
It's unbelievable.
The correct answer for number 11, if you're just going to go by the stats, is probably Gallatin. But I think Crawford is a better answer than Harper. And then McAdoo was just so damn good, but it was such a short time that I think you can get away with saying Crawford too. So I think Gallatin, Crawford, or McAdoo, all good options, but you guys voted Crawford, so Crawford it is. Next few are pretty much lined up.
You, do you have a Vince Borila jersey hanging in your closet right now?
You know what? I don't, but
what about Kenny Sears?
No, but what I was going to say was I currently am on the NBA website ordering a custom one as we speak.
Oh, good.
Without the black in it, just because we've already. Okay. We don't need the.
You would hate
piping.
this jersey I'm wearing right now. Absolutely hate it. It looks cool. It's I don't know.
Well, I have an Al Harrington jersey with that exact design, which yes, I know. I think I've said it before.
We don't have to go back through this.
Have the Al Harrington jersey, but yeah. So 12 was Dick Barnett, fallback baby, great Nick back in the day on the championship teams, and then number 13, I put in Jerome James there as a joke. So,
man, I can't remember if I did or not, but I was planning on doing
2 votes. I'm impressed. So it was Ray Williams and Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson won. So obviously Mark Jackson, All-Star, Rookie of the Year with the Knicks. Ray Williams was also a great Knick with him and Michael Roy Richardson in the 80s. I know that's one you'll hear a lot of some of my uncles would just be like, man, Ray Williams was so good. I think he's one of those guys we talked about last week a little bit, like a Joe Johnson of their era, where if you ask those guys that grew up watching the game, that's the type of guy you would say, Ray Williams.
Did he get votes?
Yeah, he got 10% of the vote, and Mark Jackson basically got 89, 90, and then a couple scraps left for our buddy Jerome James. I almost put Joe Camillo in there,
I think it was just
too.
you and me, honestly, who voted for Jerome James.
Oh, I didn't vote for Jerome James. Don't put that evil on me.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to.
No. I gave a real vote.
All right. Oh, shit. Fuck.
No, I said I put it in there so I could I just was curious how many people would vote.
Picante Matt.
That's what they call me. Please, only refer to me as Picante Matt. All right, number 14, Matty Ice.
Two sides of the spectrum, really, when you think about it.
It's true. So Matty Ice was what my friends from college referred to me like sophomore year, because the one time that my one friend had a bunch of friends from home that would come up, and it was the first time they'd ever came to Siena, and I just got very drunk, And then the next time they came, basically the same thing happened where I was just like off the shits. So they distinctly called me Matty Ice. That was it. And it was just a pseudonym for me being very drunk. So it comes out every once in a while, but it's not as prevalent as it once was.
Shout out to Sienna.
Yes, big shouts. Going to be one of the worst teams in D1 this year. Can't wait. So number 14 was Mace. May he rest in peace. Anthony Mason. Not a lot of competition with that one.
Shouts to Cassie Russell, though.
Cassie Russell, a good Knick, too, back in the day. I'm pretty sure
Nick.
that he basically ended up leaving the Knicks, though, because he was just upset with his playing time. Because he was right at the end when they got Bob Bradley, and they basically were both threes, and I think that was the issue. Bob Boozer also had a decent career.
Yeah, they also, like, pretty much role swapped, Cassie Russell for Earl Monroe. Just to kind of segue a little bit there, too. But but yeah, a much better pairing once we got number 15 in there.
For sure. So number 15, Earl the Pearl. My pop's favorite player of all time.
I, too, have an Earl Monroe jersey.
I like the Earl Monroe. That's a dope jersey, too, by the way. You
I
know what?
I have the maroon and blue one.
We could be the Rolls-Royce backcourt because I have the Walt Frazier jersey.
Yeah, but do you have the maroon and blue one?
No, because I don't think Clyde ever wore that. He didn't play on the Knicks long enough.
Clyde played until like 77, right?
I don't think it was that long.
I think they picked it up right after that.
Because they traded Clyde to the Cavs, and then Pearl stuck around for a little longer.
Clyde only played 2 years, and Clyde retired in 1980. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it must have been. But I think they picked up those awesome fucking maroon ones in 1980 or in 1978. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Clyde might have just missed it, but I fucking love that shit. That's something that I really want to see brought back, and I really like that Westchester brought it back for a little bit there.
Yeah, they're good throwbacks. And the Yankees Knicks logo, too. I know those of you that know the jersey know what I'm talking about.
I'm literally scheduling a tattoo for that this month.
That is amazing. You got to post it on Twitter so everyone can see that.
I'm going to. I love that shit.
I like the Earl Monroe. Earl Monroe is a special place in my heart, too, because, like I said, he's my dad's favorite player, so growing up, he would talk about him a lot, but it's one of the stories that my uncle was a ball boy for the Knicks, and he likes to tell the story a lot of the guys that when Earl Monroe got traded, it was a big deal at the time, but you'd find out through the newspaper and how the news would pass through, and then you'd be talking about your friends about it. But he was, he was telling me he walked in because it was Mike Reardon and Dave Stallworth were Knicks at the time, and he walked in and these guys were just crestfallen. They're like beside themselves that they were traded from the Knicks, and he just has some of the conversations they had right after. It's just visceral feelings after a trade. It was just a perfect example of that. But Earl Monroe, great Knick. Many are saying. All right, the next two will bring us back down some nice moments that a lot of our fan base remember fondly because that's all we have to remember that brought us even a semblance of happiness. So number 16 was Steve Novak, our guy.
Discount double check.
I have a discount triple check shirt that I bought on eBay, and it has like a picture of him on it, and it says discount triple check. Discount triple check, yep. And I got him to, I think he retweeted it back in like 2011 because I tweeted it out.
Yeah, but you know what? That eBay seller sold that design off of Bailey Carlin anyway. So
no, you see, I would have just bought it from Bailey in high school.
Hey,
I would have said, hey,
Knickswall merch. Go to tpublic.com and buy some shit.
Yes, it's the best merch around. Everyone is saying so. Steve Novak was one of my favorite Knicks. Like, he's a classic. It's like him and Prigioni are two of the guys that Knicks fans love, even though they objectively were not that good. And Novak was even better than Prigioni just because he served his specific role and did it damn well.
Did Novak hit above 50?
No, he led the NBA in 2011-2012, and he was 47%.
Didn't he?
I think that's extraordinarily high.
It's amazing.
I think that season he shot a higher 3-point percentage than his actual field goal percentage.
It's close. If he didn't, it's
I know
very
there was
close.
One season that he definitely did. Hold on.
Well, also, for his career, I think he's only like 0.3% more from the field than he is from three. I think it's like 43-3.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the deal. It was the next year that I'm thinking of that he shot 414 from the field and 425 from three.
Yes.
And then for his career, he is a 437 field goal percentage and 430 3-point percentage.
Yep.
Also, there's a thing that was going around that people don't quite know how old Steve Novak is.
How old is Steve Novak?
If you go to Steve Novak's Wikipedia page, you'll see that it says he was born in Libertyville, Illinois. Shouts to Illinois. On June 13th, 1983 or 1984.
What?
Yep. No, go right now. I swear to fucking God.
That's ridiculous. Why would they not know?
Steve Novak's like Ibaka before Ibaka even knew what he was doing.
Thon McCurr?
Thon McCurr, yeah. Steve Novak's like, but he's from Illinois and not anywhere else. Like,
yeah, that's funny that it says it on his Wikipedia page. I'm looking on his basketball reference. It says 83. So I wonder why it has that on Wikipedia.
I mean, I guess there's conflicting reports.
Should have been a big mystery, like the mystery of coming up with the Knicks in 2010s. Like, how old is Steve Novak actually?
Steve Novak is the fucking like scandal of the draft because they can't figure out what his age actually is. Fell out of the lottery because of it.
Holy shit! Yeah, I love Steve Novak, man. He was awesome. A great Knick. I was sad when he left, and I remember it being a big thing too. I think that year after he led the league in 3-point percentage going into 2012, 2013, it was a big deal because they said he learned how to pump fake. So he would pump fake a lot more and get defenders to fly by him, and then he would take one dribble in and shoot the two, which in hindsight, he should never have done that because that's the worst shot he could ever take. Take the three, bro.
So interesting. Hold on a second, because we are not quite shedding enough light on his name here. So obviously, Steve Novak didn't really stick until he came to New York. But in 2011, when he was with Dallas, he shot for only 7 games, but he shot 75% from 3-point range. So I guess he made like 3 or 4 shots.
Yeah, he was probably like you said,
literally 3 or 4. Yeah, and then
12 for 16 is perfect.
To finish that year out, he finished in San Antonio, played 23 games, and still shot almost 55% from 3. And then in 2015-16, in a short stint with Oklahoma City, he managed to put up 556 from 3.
He ended up playing on a lot of teams.
Day he fucking... Oh, wait, maybe not. Because I was going to say my man could shoot till the day he fucking died. But then at the end of 2015-16, when he played with Milwaukee, he only shot 33 from 3. And then his final year with Milwaukee, in 8 games, he shot 17%.
Small sample size. That doesn't count.
Small sample size.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't count. But he's... I would love to try to... I think Milwaukee might have to be a league pass, because I need to hear him as an analyst.
I've heard him a couple times. He's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll always have a special place in our hearts, though, for sure.
Always.
All right. Speaking of, number 17, another runaway, was Jeremy Lin.
I'm glad that Jeremy Lin gets the respect he deserves.
Yes. Knicks fans, definitely, when you talk about best moments, most memorable, it really was. I saw someone tweeted us and say it was like 10 days of being on meth, and I was like, yes, that's exactly how I felt.
That's exactly... It
was amazing.
Exactly how we felt.
It was such a high, and I was never coming down. And then, of course, all things have to come back to earth eventually. But, God, it was amazing.
Heading into the 2018-19 season, who do you think Knicks fans have a stronger affinity for, Jeremy Lin or Carmelo Anthony?
Melo.
That's a good question. I think Lin is a different case because Melo is like the relationship that you were in for a long time, and while some of the memories are definitely hurtful, like there were so many good memories too. Like I think it means more, but the Linsanity thing was like a flash in the pan that you just kind of like, it was awesome for a little while and then it petered out quickly. So I think when people think back on
friends
Melo,
with benefit situation, you kind of lose steam after a bit. Yeah, right. I feel you.
It's like, you guys seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
It's like, how
Inside. Wait, which one is that?
The Disney Pixar movie.
Is that the one with the feelings?
Yes.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's fantastic. I saw it 3 times when it was in theaters. You got to see it. I think I've probably seen it 10 times since. But you know how...
Is it better than the Emoji Movie?
Oh my God, it's not even close.
Anything is better than that movie.
I resent you for bringing up the Emoji Movie on this podcast. But it's like at the end when she learns that having a happy and sad memory is the pinnacle of life, and that's how you like learn things. Like that's how it is with Melo, man. Like there's a lot of great moments that didn't really reach the heights that we hoped.
Carmelo Anthony is the pinnacle of life.
No, I'm saying that the experience that Knicks fans had with Melo is the experience that a lot of athletes have with a fan base, where they aren't able to reach the heights that they hoped they could. But that doesn't mean that it was all a waste, and it's still something that we'll remember fondly. Like, there's plenty of great Melo moments that will always mean something to Knicks fans coming up. So that's the long-winded answer why I think it's Melo, but I think just because it's a different type of feeling.
It is Melo. The answer is definitely Melo. But yeah, Jeremy Lin there is some kind of strange, lasting memories and affection for Jeremy Lin, even if it all went south kind of quickly.
But we don't remember that. That's not what we remember with
yeah, it's
Lin.
Funny how that's been like completely washed away.
Yeah.
That that was the year that Baron Davis was on the team too.
And Mike Bibby.
And Mike Bibby. They were all three playing on them, and it was supposed to be like, I mean, Jeremy Lin wasn't even a discussion at the beginning of the year, but between Mike Bibby, Tony Douglas, and Baron Davis, there was supposed to be, a star point guard buried in there, the answer to the Knicks point guard's needs. And it all just failed miserably. But finding Jeremy Lin in the course of all of that out of the blue, it was supposed to be how we kind of all remember it. And then people don't remember, obviously he got injured, and then obviously Baron Davis got injured, and obviously Mike Bibby was ready to retire, and Tony Douglas wasn't quite what everyone wanted him to be. But yeah, no one remembers, the poison pill contract, everything that happened there, and Jeremy Lin accepting our offer and then backing out on it.
Mike Bibby was long retired before he came to New York. Let's get one thing straight here.
There's no reason for Mike Bibby to be playing in New York.
The thing with Lin, too, you mentioned it. I can remember they played Miami, and I think it was a nationally televised game, and I think Lin turned the ball over at least 8 times. And then it was kind of after that. Lin's sanity had already started to die down a bit, but then after that, it was just never the same. And then, the injuries. The fall isn't what we remember because it was such a flash in the pan that we weren't as connected to it. It was not as natural.
It was just so unbelievable.
Right. So we were taking anything we could get.
This kid came out of nowhere, bottom out of the Golden State Warriors, who were a laughingstock of the league at that point. And then shows up in New York and fucking I think that was my senior year of high school. And I remember sitting in my basement with the girl I was dating at the time, just watching that Lakers game when he just tore Kobe Bryant to fucking shreds. And I don't know, that memory I think that's going to be one of those Knicks memories that it will never escape me for pretty much my entire fandom.
You watched the Knicks with your high school girlfriend?
Yeah, what's funny? My track record of getting, people that I'm dating to sit down with me and watch basketball games has only gotten worse since then.
That's because the older we get, the less they're going to put up with your bullshit. You've been dating your current girlfriend now for a little while. She's just I'm just going to go do something else. I'm not going to sit here and watch this with you.
And the girl, the woman I'm dating now, she played basketball. She knows basketball. She played in high school and everything. I'm just sit down and watch a Knicks game with me.
She does not want to subject herself to this. And
we'll go to a game. She enjoys going to games, but yeah, she just doesn't understand the 2 hours, 3 to 4 times a week.
Hey, I get it. All right, let's go through the last 2 really quick because they're not contentious at all. Number 18, not a lot of options. So our favorite Knick in history, Phil Jackson. I saw someone tweet that they wouldn't vote for Phil Jackson no matter what, even if he was clearly the answer. So that's number 18.
That's kind of what I'm thinking now. How, prior to Phil Jackson came in what, 2014?
Something like that.
I think he was
2014.
Yeah, I think he was pretty relatively revered by the Knicks fan base prior to that point for being on the championship teams and then obviously everything he did since then. How much, what is, I don't even know how to phrase this question, but what in 180 that Phil Jackson's legacy has taken in the eyes of Knicks fans in the last couple of years?
That's true.
It's I don't know if there's ever been a player for another team or anything like that has fallen quite as hard as Phil Jackson has in the eyes of Knicks fans.
I don't know if it becomes the point where it's he's just persona non grata or anything, but I think when you talk about Phil Jackson the player, it's even ugh. It's just a groan. And then you're oh, he was a great Knick. He did play on some championship teams, but
he trolled us on his way out the door, his final way out the door. Everything
cares?
that Phil Jackson. Oh man, I gotta say, I was actually mad when he tweeted that photo of his gross ass feet up on the deck in Montana.
I was just more mad because his feet are disgusting.
Disgusting.
I
I
don't
mean,
even
like
see
he was
that.
the fucking NBA center, so like I expect every.
Yeah, you
NBA
seen Shaq's
center to
feet
have-
recently?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Not what you want.
It's really not.
If you've been wearing like size 23s for 3 hour a night for fucking 20 years, then I only expect you to have the most gruesome feet.
So the last one, number 19, the captain, Willis Reed. Another 100% vote. Thought it was fitting that Clyde and Willis Reed were both unanimous selections.
The bookends.
Exactly.
Those golden lights that are fading so far into the distance.
Yes, it's true. So no love for Donnie Butcher and Ray Felix, unfortunately. Very sad. Really
Miss you,
upsetting those
Felix.
guys.
Can you imagine if someone came into the NBA now named Ray Felix?
I mean, Donnie Butcher. That's worse.
Donnie Butcher
Who's that
just
kid who
sounds...
plays for the Celtics? Oh god,
Which one?
Just move forward. Just move past it because there's a name for this like young Celtics player.
Yabusele?
No. He's I think he's American, but it's just the most Celtics name I've ever heard.
Oh, David Duke.
Move past it. If I find it, I'll let you know.
All right, so that's 10 through 19. Let me go through it one more time. Number 10, Walt Clyde Frazier. Number 11, Jamal Crawford. Number 12, Dick Barnett. Number 13, Mark Jackson. Number 14, Anthony Mason. Number 15, Earl the Pearl Monroe. Number 16, Steve Novak. Number 17, Jeremy Lin. Number 18, Phil Jackson. And number 19, the captain, Willis Reed. So you get a lot of older names on this one, I feel like, than we had last week, because we had some newer ones that won out last week. I think we only had 2 or 3, I guess, of even in the 2010s. So keep on listening, guys. We're going to keep rolling on. Be back next week with 20 through 29. We might expand it a little bit, depending on how many numbers these guys have worn. It's hard to say until you get to look it up on Basketball Reference. But keep an eye out. Obviously, not a lot going on in Knicks land, but that doesn't mean we stop shooting the shit and talking about things like Jamal Crawford's 50-point game and Corbo putting on a jersey in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Not to break up the outro, but didn't we the Knicks sign Kadeem Allen?
Yeah, we talked about that. It was a couple weeks ago, I think. We definitely talked about it briefly.
Okay.
Well, do you have a screaming hot take on Kadeem Allen?
No, I don't. He's just on the Celtics team page still. So
that doesn't make sense, because he was the Celtics two-way player last year, and then the Knicks signed him to a deal.
I'm interested in him.
He's a bulldog defensively. I mean,
yeah,
we'll see what he can do. Well, if he plays well, you were the first one. It's all on you. Kadeem Allen is your project.
Yep, there we go. I got you, Kadeem.
All right, so keep an eye on next week, 20 through 29. We'll get the poll out at the beginning of next week. So thanks again for pitching in. Keep them coming, guys. Love the responses. So until next week.
Yeah, I think the 20 should be pretty good.
I'm excited. We know there's going to be some good ones. I already have a couple on the top of my head.
In the teens.
It's true. All right, Kyle, Corbo, thanks for joining.
Hi, guys.
You do have to be rather careful to keep track of where your center of mass is. Feet underneath you.